Well, hello there, humans, bees, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too, welcome back to the channel. I'm Bushka, and you're the humans, and it's great to have you with me today as we do an interactive human and Bushka experiment. I'm going to be doing a sniping vid today, and I've done a lot of sniping vids in the past, and I always do good view-wise, and people love them, because people love doing things like this, where you just pick up a Kar 98, scope in with the iron sights, and headshot some grub who's landed in the middle of boot camp. But what I did was I put a question up on the community forum on my YouTube channel, and I said, hey, what do you have for questions for me on sniper videos? And then I thought I'd just go through and answer the questions, and there's the videos. This is going to be a long one, and I'm going to talk a lot about sniping technique, tactics, and all kinds of things. And the first question is from Cold Spice, and this is when I had a bit. Does a cheek pad have any noticeable effect when you're running at the old sniper-roonies? And the answer is no. The cheek pad's great on DMRs and things where you actually don't reset your view, but once you pull out of the ADS on the sniper, well, that's it. You're done. It just quite simply, it doesn't give you any help whatsoever. There's no real recoil reduction on it. VSS, DMRs, all those kind of things, they love it. And that brings us to a really interesting one that I got asked a lot. How do you rack the sniper rifle, the bolt up again, without taking your eye off the scope? And I don't know how I do this. This happens randomly. It seems like a bug, and both Iana and Dakalang and a lot of other people ask this. But basically, it's when you're zoomed in and you start shooting with a sniper rifle and it doesn't take you out of the scope mode while it racks the bolt and loads another round. I don't know how I do it. It is completely unintentional and it feels like a bug. Now, my old mate Irma Bex came up with this one. I tend to always drop a Kar 98 for an M24, but should I be doing that? More damage is always a more positive state of mind. And the M24 does maybe 4% more damage. The base no-vest chest shot on an M24 is 78. It's 74 on a Kar 98. Both of them will clear a level 2 helmet. That's all well and good. They don't clear level 3 helmets, and that's a lot of why you run a bolt action in the first place, is the ability to shoot headshots, hit headshots. If you can't hit headshots, the value of a bolt action rifle is far and away minimized, because headshots with the bolt action really equalize the playing field. And this is one of the reasons why people love the AWM, because once you get good at hitting headshots, the AWM spares no one. I'm going to give you this little clip here as an example. You'll see there's a headshot. Straight away, down goes the target with the M24. The Kar 98 would do the same thing on a level 2 helmet. But once you hit like level 3 helmets like this guy, you've got to get a body shot in first before you can actually clear that target. So getting more damage gives you more damage to the body, and you don't know what state they're in, so it's always a good idea. Even with an AWM, a body shot is going to do the business, but it won't with the Kar 98 and the M24. So M24 better, but by a margin of a very, very, very small margin. This one's from Throbbin Would Like to Say, lovely name, and this is basically about solo versus squad and whether you should run a bolt action in solo versus squad or not, and that is entirely dependent on your playstyle. I tend to run DMRs in solo versus squad a lot, but at the same time, if you can get a hold of an AWM, you should always run that AWM, because it offers you a level of ferocity and ammunition that no one else can bring to the table. If they don't have that AWM, that ability to just tap out hard, any kind of body shot with an AWM is so devastating that if they're not at full health or they're just in the middle of a gunfight or something, it can still penetrate and knock them out. You don't have to be so pedantic about going for headshots with an AWM, but if you're talking about a Kar 98 or an M24 in solo versus squad, well, that means you've got to be quite gifted with the way you play the game. If you're not a good bolt action sniper, then the Kar 98 and the M24, when you're running up against multiple people, can be very, very tough to deal with. You've got to really be able to hit your shots. And even if you've been playing for a long, long time and you're good at sniping, like I'd like to think that I can hit a lot of shots. I mean, I got a lot of sniping clips here and you can see, but when you're not hitting shots, like if this was a versus a full squad, you can see that's one shot, body shot with a Kar 98, 2 body shots with the Kar 98. I'm not missing. That's 3 body shots to clear that guy with the Kar 98. And if you get a limb shot, which is going to do less damage again, it can take up to 4. I mean, it can feel kind of crazy at times. It's a really rough gig if you don't know what you're doing with these shots. It's all about the headshots. And for that reason, I run a bolt in solo versus squad, as you can see here, but I make sure that the gun that I run with it, well, that leads to another question. Let's talk about that now. Now, this one comes in from Shivram Rastogi, and this is what should be the primary gun then. 7.62 or a 5.56 millimeter AR, and having a pistol become necessary for a switch. I don't really ever use my pistol much at all. It's very rare that I'd switch that out in an engagement. Occasionally I will, but you can see in a lot of these clips I'm running an M416 with a bolt-action sniper rifle, and this is an excellent question because it's very hard to run an AKM with a bolt-action sniper rifle and cover off on all the kind of ranges you're dealing with, particularly if you're in engagements that involve more than one target against you. And if you're not hitting your shots with a bolt action and you have to deal with people at longer ranges or just, put pressure on people to get into a zone, then having an AKM or a barrel is a tough gig. Now, you might want to run it around boot camp or on Sanok, you can get away with that a little bit because you can break up the terrain. But somewhere like Vikendi or Erangel or Miramar, particularly Miramar, if you're dealing with people over large ranges and you've got to tap fire something at them or even get 100-meter long sprays, then the 5.56 ARs like the M416, the QBZ, the SCAR-L, the AUG, they work very, very well on those kind of engagements. Your 7.62 ARs, you can get away with a lot more readily when you're running them in solos. I mean, that's a great shot there. And I'm running a barrel with this because when it's just 1v1, you can really control that engagement. If you're solo versus squads or solo versus duos, then it's a lot harder to control all the variables and there's a lot more interactions. And this goes back to, there's a headshot on that guy. I'm going to cut this little clip here and you'll see how this is why you've got to get good at hitting your headshots. That guy had a level 3 helmet. I can't clear him with a single headshot. I can't go, I hit him again, body shot. That's a limb shot, I think, actually. He's pan. I mean, this is the life of a bolt-action sniper. I'm going to show you something, and this is a good question too. I always have trouble shooting moving targets, 400 plus meters away. Would love some tips. Well, firstly, about 320 is the render range. But if you want to get better at aiming and you want to take some time out to actually work purely on aiming, you can do that by running something like this app. This is iAim. There is a full spray mode where you've got to track targets and eat up their hit point pool. You can set the sensitivities, all those kind of thing. Or if you want to work on your sniper shots, there's just these red blocks. You just tap it. You can move the controls around. And if you've got some spare time, that will absolutely improve your hand-eye coordination. The second part of this, which is I find really, really interesting, is you can do this in PUBG Mobile too. Obviously, you can work through using war mode, sniper only, all that kind of thing. But that's a very, very quick and easy way of doing things. You can go to the training grounds and just shoot the headshots into the moving targets, all these things. And I do sometimes warm up for 10 minutes before I go and do a stream or something because I'm not an idiot. I know that if I jump out and my hand-eye coordination, it feels smooth and relevant, I'm going to get more shots. And there's no placebo for experience in this. The more you practice with these bolt-action sniper rifles, the better you're going to get. There's no quick fixes. You have to put time on target into not just shooting things, but likely sniper hides. Like that guy there, I was pretty certain I knew where he was going to be. And the idea that when you've got snipers, where do you go to hide when you're sniping? And that will give you a big leg up on the competition because you've experienced good spots before and you know where people like to go. And there's no real substitute for that. So if you're wondering how you can get to hit more shots, you can practice the hand-eye coordination, but you really just need to get in the game and risk using that bolt action for a while. Thanks for the question, Ahmed, by the way. Dinesh Pereira, how to flick. This is one I got a lot of too. Look, I don't flick. I don't even try to flick. I don't think it's really worthwhile. I watch a lot of the best players in the world play PUBG PC, Shroud, Choco Taco, Justin Bustin, all those dudes. They've in CSGO, and Look, occasionally they'll flick, but for the most part, these guys, they peek corners, they look for shots, they shoot quickly, they try to quick scope, which is easier on PC, obviously. Flicking's just a gimmick. You don't see people in pro tourneys trying to flick all the time. They try to shoot in the most effective and efficient manner, and that is got nothing to do with flicking your mouse around and trying to do it. And I've watched people do it on stream, so-called flick gods, and oh my... it's just so painful to watch. Watch them missing shot after shot before they hit that highlight reel shot, which is wonderful. But I'll take a guy that can peek and actually hit a shot every day of the week. And if you want to flick, go for your life, but it's not really what you call a cost-effective movement. Like, what's the point? Just learn how to shoot like this and you'll be a lot better off. And, you know, no one cares at the end of the day how you got the shot. They just care that the shot hit and you move on to the next part of your chicken dinner experience. Edris Polani writes in, why headshots with AWM not work? Sometimes I know this sounds insane, but happens to me a number of times in this new update. You're not alone, mate. There's two things that work here. One is hitboxes and the other is desync. If you think of it like when you're playing and you have desync issues where you're in a gunfight, like a brawl, CQC, close quarters combat, and you run around a corner and another guy runs around the other corner and you feel like you hit him 10 times and he still didn't fall over. Well, the same kind of thing happens when people are sniping. Like, you'll shoot what is clearly a headshot for you. On their screen, they might move before or after, and I mean, this is a lovely, filthy little headshot there, but he wasn't in position for that headshot when I let the bullet fly. He moved into it, but this all happens server side. It doesn't happen client side. Your client doesn't decide whether or not that shot counts. The server decides. So if someone is moving, particularly on moving targets, then you're going to find even shots like that, which look clearly like a headshot to me. It was a body shot. It can be very, very tough. So desync is a big factor in all of this. But the other part, I mean, like, look at this guy. Watch this particular one. There's a headshot, right? Watch this guy move around. Now, there is a big gap between him and me. Like, look at my ping. I'm at nearly 600 ping in this engagement. It just happens sometimes when I play on Asia server and NA, my ping just goes haywire. And you can see that target is moving around all over the place. The server's... So I just switched to a barrel because it's like the server has no idea where that guy is. And that can be really frustrating, but that's a big part of why your headshots are actually not connecting. Even when you can only see like the head, sometimes you'll still get a body shot. That's just one of the things. Like, PUBG Mobile is an online game, and as long as online games are played over a big network, you're going to get latency one way or another. And latency is just the worst thing in the world. It's one of the most frustrating parts, but everyone deals with it. That is literally the biggest reason why you don't get headshots, even though the reticle is clearly over the top of the noggin. The other part, as I mentioned, is hitboxes. Hitboxes can be really screwy. Hitboxes basically decide where you get. Like, you might hit the line between the chest and the head hitbox because of bullet drop, which we'll get to in the next question. And that means that it's got to decide one way or the other. Was it a headshot? Was it a chest shot? And the difference might be a tiny pixel, but it looks clear on your screen, but there you go. Now, this one comes in from Achiever, and he's representing all you people who asked about bullet drop, etc., and leading targets and such. PUBG Mobile has a very, very weird thing going on, and I highlighted this in the recent VSS video. If you haven't watched that, then please do. Oh, by the way, watch the relocation here. Absolutely gorgeous. This is how you relocate. Just small relocations will give you an edge in a sniper fight. PUBG Mobile has this weird thing where there is a shell velocity, so you have to lead a target, but they've nullified the bullet drop to such a degree that there is super minimal bullet drop. One of the reasons for that is you can't really zero these guns in on a mobile. It's just not practical. And by zero, I mean, like, say your sight is zeroed for 100 meters. So when a target is 100 meters away, you put the crosshair over the target and it goes exactly where you aim it. Well, on PC, if they're 300 meters away, you can adjust the sight up and down, the zero range, so that you put the crosshair on the target at 500 meters and it goes exactly where you aim it. You don't really have, that's just not practical on mobile, right? So what they did was they just really minimize bullet drop completely. There is very, very little bullet drop. And considering your ranges only go out to about 300, 320, the bullet drop is really not the factor on mobile that it is on PC. However, because the shell velocity is a legit thing, you do have to learn to lead targets. And with the 7.62 bolt action sniper rifles, particularly the Kar 98, it's got the lowest shell velocity out of all of them. You've really got to learn to lead that target. And you're talking about probably at 100 meters, like 150 meters of body length. And you can see there's very little call for that kind of reaction speed anywhere else. Like, you don't have to worry too much about bullet drop with these sniper rifles. And with the AWM, one of the biggest issues I have is I miss shots because I try to give it the same bullet drop at times as the Kar 98K and the M24. You can see the boys giving me a sniper rifle here. We've got a sniper up on the tower. They give me the Kar 98, they give me the sniper suppressor, they give me the 8 times, and then we just take care of business. And we get rid of this grub that's pinning us down. And that's next to no bullet drop, but that's like 200 meters away. And you can see that's 223 meters. And there is a slight bullet drop. I'm going to aim slightly above and ahead of the guy, but not much at all. And bullet drop is a real consternation for those of you who are just starting there. Look how far away this target is, and look how little bullet drop there is. That's nearly laser-like. Now, obviously, it's below me, so there's less. There is bullet drop, but it's not much, and you don't have to take account for it, mate. If you're aiming for a headshot, just aim for the top of the dome, and that should do it, unless you're like 300 meters away, in which case maybe give it a head full of target. Last question from ENJOY Amigos, and this is a question that came up a little bit. Any solution for high sensitivity gyro plays? Now, these are the guys who run M4s with 6 times and such on them. They can't hit targets with bolt actions with such gyro sensitivities, thus no long-range engagements for me. How to solve this? Well, the quick question is, I mean, that's really a product of the gameplay style, and I don't particularly like that gameplay style. I prefer bolt action sniper rifles. I understand that you're talking about a gameplay style that works. It's just not for me. And the only solution I can tell you there is finding a happy medium with your sensitivity settings. But if you absolutely have to do 6 times sprays, you're going to need way too much in terms of sensitivity to handle it with a bolt action. Traditionally, I'll run my bolt action my 8 times around about 11% in terms of sensitivity, 16% or so on the 6 times. And those are really important numbers for me. And they're numbers that I've worked out painstakingly on the range. I might do a reveal video on sensitivity settings, all that kind of thing, on my controls at some point. I've done those in the past, but people keep asking for them with new and interesting wrinkles. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I just don't have a lot of time to do any more, but there is a DMR post up in the community section. If you want to put questions up in there for the DMR, I will read them out and go through them about all the DMRs from the QBU, the SLR, all those kind of things, and we can go through and talk about the pros, the cons, what works, what doesn't. Thank you anyway for watching. You guys are the best. I really appreciate the support. It's been a hell of a journey of late. I know we copped a bit of a flogging from YouTube when they terminated the channel in error, and it's really screwed with the algorithm. We're having a lot of trouble as a community getting out there again. We used to pick up a lot of people, new subs and everything, by the video being suggested and put in the in people's feeds, and that's not really happening now. I don't know why, apart from the fact that it really went haywire after they terminated the channel in error, which is very frustrating. But for all that, I'm still doing what I do. I still have the Patreon community, and I still have you guys. So if we have to build all over again and have some fun doing it, then, I mean, if the worst thing in the world is that I have to keep doing this to be successful, I think pretty much everyone out there watching right now would take my job. And so I don't want to get too whiny and bitchy about that, because you guys are the best. And thank you so much for having me in your life. Until next time, look after yourselves, stay safe in the battlefield, keep getting those chicken dinners, and just be a good human overall. I'm Bushka. Bye for now.